I work with the Department of Defense, so they are actively funding a lot of startups to develop these technologies to strengthen the defense industrial base, and not just the defense base, but also they want dual use. So companies can also be profitable in the private markets. So the accelerators are actually looking for people who want to like commercialize the technology.
Welcome to Manufacturing Insiders. Today I have Dr. Pritam Poddar with me. He is the CEO of PrisAM. He is making some big innovations in the 3D printing space. We talk a lot about 3D printing on Manufacturing Insiders, with the obvious goal of us sharing knowledge between leaders in manufacturing. I truly believe that additive manufacturing is the future in the US, and I think that the companies that can adopt innovations and really create change in that space, and not only use it to to manufacture items that were able to only traditionally be done with subtractive manufacturing, but to create new innovations like Dr. Pritam is doing. So welcome to Manufacturing Insiders. Excited to hear about what you're doing.
Pleasure to be here, Nate. Uh, and yeah, I think 3D printing is a new technology. It's that's getting rapidly adopted. There is a lot of funding available in the United States also for startups that are looking to commercialize such technologies. I'm happy to
Right.
talk more about that.
Yeah, of course. So give us a little bit of background on you. In my understanding, you originally went to school in India. I believe you got your initial degree there, and then did you get your doctorate here in the U.S.?
Yeah, I went to school in India for a bachelor's in mechanical engineering. That was in Kolkata or Calcutta, it was previously called. That's where I was born. And after that, I came for a master's in industrial engineering at Rochester Institute of Technology. Got a scholarship, merit scholarship there, and my tuition was paid. I was getting a stipend. So I said, yeah, I really want to uh, actually wanted to move away more from core mechanical engineering to more of the industrial engineering, bigger mindset of how industries work, not just a few machines.
Mm-hmm.
uh, and after that, I also earned a doctorate from Rochester Institute of Technology, and it was a PhD in engineering. And the focus was exclusively on 3D printing or additive manufacturing.
I see. I see. What was the most challenging part for you to move from India to the U.S.? New environment, new school.
I think most challenging part for me was lived in Rochester. It's a small town. It can be called just a college town because there are two big universities, which are the biggest employers. There's also a healthcare system. The biggest challenge was the lack of public transportation. I did
Oh,
not
okay.
understand that to go from place to place, you needed a car. Otherwise, the public transportation at that time when I came in 2012 was not that great, but now it's getting better.
I see. Okay. So yeah, that's surprising. That wasn't the challenge that I expected. What was the biggest culture shock? What was the other than transportation, just the people, kind of the culture in general?
Yeah, the culture in general, the biggest shock for me was I think in US there is a level of equality for individuals where when you grow up in India there is this level of hierarchy, like someone senior to you, you have to treat them in a certain way. Whereas when I came to US, you treat everyone as equals, like whether
Right.
there's yeah. So that was the biggest culture shock for me.
I see. Um, what are the repercussions? Like, what happens if you don't treat, in India, treat somebody that's higher than you in the hierarchy the way that they would expect?
Well, you would hear some words from your peers and them. So people will let you know that that is not an acceptable behavior.
I see. I see. What gives them this status? Is it by birth, or is it because of their age, or what gives them the status?
Yeah, it could be mostly it's because of age. Like you seen treat seniors with respect always,
Right.
and respect in US also you treat people with respect, but it's a different level of seniors. Like it's like almost in the military. You have been in the military, Nate, so it's like your senior officer. You treat them as a senior officer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Huh. Interesting. Um, how does that change the business world? Like, so, say you're in a company and you have kind of this hierarchy in India, whereas in the US you sort of have a different system. Like, how would it change how you progress or operate inside of a company?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that example when I came to US, I was in classrooms in India and in classrooms in US, and I would say that US universities are one of the best in the world, no doubt about it. But what I saw in the US was the culture that there was a lab happening. I was studying industrial engineering, so there was this Toyota production systems lab where we studied how production lines are maintained. And of course, things fell from the line. We had spills, and I saw the instructors, the professors come down and clean the floor. Like they didn't
Hmm.
even ask students to clean the floor. So in India, what would happen in those situations that the professor would ask the students, "Hey, you clean up. I'm not going to touch it." But I saw a complete shift in like approach to work. Like no job is below your standard. Like anything that needs to be done is doable by you, and there is a level of I would say equanimity towards viewing all kinds of jobs. So I think I was able to also come here and do some work in the cafes at the university, like cleaning floors, washing dishes. So that would be looked like I when after I went to college to get a bachelor's, that would be looked very down upon in India if I did something like that.
I see. I
Yeah.
see. Yeah, there is this concept, that you hear a lot of leaders in manufacturing talk about, and really successful leaders talk about, is kind of the servant leadership sort of mindset, and I guess having humility in your position. And I think that there is some, there's obviously some benefit to that. On the other hand, I don't know that, especially the younger generation coming into the workforce, really understands respect for authority, like previous generations does. So I think there is some benefit to that, kind of respecting the knowledge that has been gained. And I think AI is really shaking this up as well, because, you might have somebody that has 60 years on this earth and a lot of life experience, but if I can go to ChatGPT and find the answer to something way more in depth than what they can share with me, then, I think a lot of the younger generation is like, why should I listen to this guy?
Yeah. Yeah, and I can tell you like another shock for me was like in American classrooms, I saw like American students, they would take a nap in the middle of the class or start eating something. And Indian students would never do that. They would not take a nap unless they are really tired and they fall asleep. But otherwise, they would like pay attention. They would not be distracted by eating something, anything. They would not eat in the classroom. So
Right.
I saw this kinds of when I saw this, my American peers do that. I said, are they not respectful of the like teachers? So
Hmm.
that was something I had to come to terms with. That yeah, that
Yeah.
is the culture here.
Right. Yeah, and it's an unfortunate part of culture. I mean, even when I was in college, I got my undergraduate in Pennsylvania, and then I got a master's degree out in San Diego. And yeah, I was always off put by that. I didn't understand, because I mean, I grew up with, respect for seniority and respect for parents and leaders, and you would never. I remember, we went to church when I was young, and I remember one time there was there's the auditorium for the church, and then there's this door with windows that goes into the kitchen of the church. My dad was working in the kitchen. Well, the pastor was praying, and I had my eyes open, was looking around. As soon as he got done praying, my dad pulled me out of there and beat the living shit out of me, because you close your eyes when you bow your head when the prayer is going on.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know. I think that was an extreme reaction. But nonetheless, I think there needs to be more respect in art. So the innovations that you're doing in 3D printing, what's really unique about this? What are you actually doing?
Yeah. So when I was doing my PhD, I focused on how can we make materials that are not possible to make with conventional manufacturing. So very intricate designs that can be lightweight and stiff. I made things. These are called lattice structures. You can almost see through them
Yep.
if you in the right angle, and this go into something called sandwich composites. So sandwich is like the sandwiches we eat. It has a core like the meat, which is the core, and then there are like the bread or the skin slapped on one side or both sides and attached by glue or other means. So I saw that there were when I was looking at my career options after my school, I always felt like I want to do something of my own, like build a team of my own. And so I looked at how can I commercialize something like this and what is the applicability of that. Did some market research. First of all, I was able to get exposure to a startup accelerator that was at my university. So they and at that time I was getting married. I had met my girlfriend and I was 2019. I was about to get married. So I saw there was this startup accelerator that gave you like $10,000 to do customer discovery. And I was in school. I was said, okay, that's like extra money, and I'm getting married. Maybe I can use that money and also build a business. So I went through the accelerator, and in the process, talked to about 200 people in the industry, uh, for who in various industries, aerospace, construction, uh, and all different kinds of industries, medicine, prosthetics. So through that, I was able to get to a something called ICOR program, and this is led by National Science Foundation. So they fund teams of 2 or 3 people who have an innovation, and they give you $50,000. That was in 2020. I think now it's $75,000. $50,000 to go out and talk to 100 customers in 3 months, 100 potential customers for your technology in 3 months. And the way they taught us to do it is you go out into the marketplace where you think the customers for your technology are, and you ask them about their problems. Don't tell them anything about your solutions. Just find out what problems they have. And then based on that, we'll see if your product can be commercialized. So we did that, and we felt like our product can be commercialized. And the market we found was lightweight core materials, and in aerospace, space, defense. So currently, what is used is a honeycomb core and foam core. There are only two options in the market for these lightweight core materials. And there have been a lot of talk about lattice cores with 3D printing, but nothing has been commercialized for structural applications so far. So we saw an opportunity. Okay, we can commercialize this, but it's not an easy task to commercialize anything. Even a shampoo commercializing is extremely difficult. And if you are talking about aerospace and defense, it's the challenge is 100 times more than a consumer product. um, but that funding, that $50,000, talking to people, we got a lot of support from the industry, and we were able to apply for something called an SBIR. uh, that was also funded by NSF. It's Small Business Innovative Research, where we got $250,000 to build the first manufacturing system, the first prototype for our technology. Uh, Actually, the manufacturing system, we had a 1 year, and we continued talking to more customers, and then were able to get significant interest from the defense industry, specifically the Air Force and Space Force. So we got a phase one from the Air Force to discover customers for. Then they gave us $75,000 to discover customers for and end users for our technology inside the Air Force and Space Force. Uh, and to apply for their SBIRs, what you need is you need a signature from a customer who will buy the technology, an end user who will use the technology, and a TPOC who will oversee the transition of the technology into the Air Force and Space Force. So we applied for a phase two after that and got a $1.25 million of contract to build a prototype for the Air Force and Space Force. And what we are building for them is something that is called an MMOD shield, which is micro meteorite and orbital debris shield. These are used in satellites to protect the satellite from micrometeorites and orbital debris that are impacting the satellites at 16,000 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So at those speeds, everything behaves like butter.
Right.
So how can you stop those projectiles from damaging the satellite? The shields will be damaged, of course, and they can be replaced, but you want to protect the satellites and the expensive electronics and equipment inside the satellites from those MMODs.
Right. Right. Yeah, I heard a little bit about this recently, and it was with relation to re-entry of spacecraft. Because if the protective shield is damaged by micro debris, when it re-enters, it's just going to explode because you don't have that protective shield anymore. So it's just kind of like dealing in that realm.
So that protective shield you're talking about for re-entry, that is called a thermal protection shield. So that actually helps the uh, re-entry vehicle from getting too heated up and getting like burnt up.
Right.
So that is a different material, and these protective shields that we are building, they are not exposed to the launch or re-entry. They are just up there in space, protecting the satellites from MMODs. But we are also looking at an application for doing so these what MMODs we are building with thermoplastics and other composite material because it will not face those significant thermal gradients like a
Right.
re-entry
Right.
vehicle.
Plastic. Yeah.
Yeah, but for the thermal protection systems, we are looking at using ceramic technology to build these structures because ceramic is a good insulator of heat.
I see. I see. Yeah, and I wonder if there's a way like you get up into space and you have this new exposure
Mhm.
and you somehow install this lattice shielding over the heat shielding once you're in space, and then if you do get some sort of impact, it protects that heat shield, and then on reentry it can either just burn off or it can be removed.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. We'll propose that to the Space Force.
Okay. You'll find I have enough conversations. I'm always thinking a little bit deeper, trying to figure it out. So so not only is the structure that you're manufacturing unique, the application will be unique, but then you've actually had to kind of develop some I don't know, more expansive 3D printing technology to be able to do the size of objects, right?
Yes, yeah, and that is an important point because the parts we want to build, most people are familiar with 3D printing as being desktop sized printers. And
Right.
those are great for prototyping, but for industrial scale, if you're talking about aerospace space parts, those are like uh, 8 to 10 feet to 12 feet long. And they cannot be fit inside those small printers. And also, another problem with 3D printing is it's essentially a 2D printing process where you deposit 2D layers on top of each other to build up a 3D part. That is an extremely slow process. It's all if you're building a large part, it's almost like watching grass grow. And
Right.
so we saw that there is an opportunity if we are making lattice structures to uh, like speed up the process by at least 4 to 8 times. And how we did that is instead of making the lattices layer by layer on top of each other, we designed the tool paths to deposit material directly into 3D space like this.
Mm-hmm.
So we could design hollow structures extremely fast compared to traditional 3D printing process. And when we installed our extruders on robotic arms that could move for like 12 feet across a 12 feet rail, you're able to make 12 feet, 10 feet long parts at much faster rates than traditional 3D printing, and even comparable to the traditional core materials that are used like honeycomb and foam, we can make the similar size parts at half the time.
Wow. So that's impressive.
Yeah.
So what are the other applications of the hardware? I mean, I almost think that obviously you're using it for these lattice structures, but there's probably other people that would want to be able to, print in 3D space, right?
Yeah. There are other people who, there are some companies that already do that. There's a company called Branch Technology that is already using similar technology for architectural applications,
Okay.
and also like making small shelters, housing, small housing, like micro housing is what they call. Uh, they are building that, and there is some interest in using these structures for, also we have made a proposal to the Air Force to use it for making warheads for uh, counter US applications, because these warheads are are a, have become a necessity almost because of the infiltration of drones in warfare. And
Right.
these drones are $500 drones, and you don't want to spend $10,000 taking down a $500 drone.
Right.
So how can we make that production of the warheads faster? And you don't need to be over engineered, because they to like disable drones, it doesn't really take a lot. I can't talk about how we are doing that, but you can do it in a very cheap way, disabling a drone. uh, so uh, just having this technology to make the cost of warfare also cheaper is something we are looking at.
I see. Yeah, I can definitely see a ton of applications. So what about like the wing structures? Because these wings contain a honeycomb, right? Like for an aircraft or a unmanned aircraft.
Yeah, we have a wing structure where we put a lattice inside, and we have got interest from a commercial customer who wants to use these structures inside the control surfaces of the wing of small aircrafts, business aircrafts that carry 10, 12 people. So yeah, the problem they were facing is that when they were making honeycomb structures for their control surfaces, the control surfaces are actually triangular in shape. They are not like a rectangular shape. So the honeycombs, they come in rectangular panels, and they had to machine it like a 12 feet long honeycomb, machine it to make it triangle. That takes so much time. And on top of that, you need to produce tooling, jigs, fixtures, and all that material. Honeycomb is an expensive material, by the way.
Right.
Yeah, you're machining away all of that material to get the actual shape. So it adds to a lot of cost and time. So the problem, that was their problem, and the solution they were seeking from us is, can you make that into the triangular shape without any machining at faster times? And if you can also make it non-uniform density, because honeycomb is usually uniform density, and all sections of the wing don't need to have the same density because of loading conditions. If we can do that, we can optimize the weight, and we have demonstrated that we can do that. So we are working with them on a pilot project to validate it for their loading conditions.
Very fascinating. Yeah, when you were talking about honeycomb, I was thinking to myself, that is weird. I've never thought about that. Bees are actually like little 3D printers.
Yeah.
um, wow, it's huge. So I want to jump back a little bit to this whole funding process and the accelerators and all of that.
Mhm.
If I'm a guy and I've got this great idea, right? How do you get involved in these accelerators? How do you pitch your product?
Uh, so the accelerators are actually looking for people who want to like commercialize the technology. Most accelerators are focused on like SaaS, software as a service based products.
Yep.
Uh, there are fewer accelerators related to hardware, but there are, and the way to find them is essentially, I would say, like ask AI, like this is my technology, what are some accelerators, and then contact the people, contact those accelerators, uh, fill in an application, and they will mostly guide the team towards how to complete the application and go through them. There are tons of them. I cannot even name all of them. There are tons of them, but I know about 10 or 12 of those accelerators for a hardware startup.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's obviously a huge advantage to have access to the funding and to the accelerators. You I can't imagine like what happens if you have an idea like this and you have no access to that. So it's pretty cool that they enable it. Um, so when you're kind of looking to the future, you said you have a sort of a pre-signed contract with, was it the Air Force or was it with a private organization?
We have a contract with the Air Force, yes.
Okay. So does that have any sort of limitations to how you might apply the technology elsewhere? Do you have any sort of, other than to provide them with whatever service you promised to, are there any limitations to you going to private companies and selling this or anything like that?
No, there is essentially no limitation, and they encourage something called dual use, which is your product has to have a private market application and also a defense application, because
I see.
uh, they don't want to be the only customer. They when they invest, uh, our funding came from FWorks Ventures, and their name is Ventures, so they are a venture arm of the Air Force. What they do is they identify technologies that can have an application for the Air Force or Space Force, and also an application in the commercial market, commercial mean private market. So their interest is, even if the technology after funding does not result in a product for the Air Force and it has an application in the commercial market, their investment is successful because they are helping the national economy grow.
I
So
see.
that is their interest, and many startups have gone through funding to the Air Force that did not sell anything to the Air Force, but went on to become very successful companies in the private market.
I see. I see. What's the biggest challenge that you're facing right now?
The biggest challenge we face right now as a manufacturing company is, as a startup, we have kept our business model extremely lean. And by that, I mean we have not hired any employees. We are four co founders who do most of the work, the technical work, and we lease space from a university, lease their equipment, their robots, and everything to execute our contracts, and then have other subcontractors to do testing like hyper velocity impact testing, some electrical testing, or some fragmentation testing in a field with explosives. We subcontract other small businesses to do the work for us.
I see.
So this subcontracting, we want to keep on doing, but we feel like there are some restrictions around subcontracting for manufacturing space, especially working with defense. There is like all sorts of ITAR restrictions and all that.
Yep.
Sometimes some universities don't want to participate in those kind of work. Uh, so that is the biggest challenge we are facing, and we are actively like looking to raise some private investment so we can get our own space and solve that problem.
I see. And what universe are you hoping like one university can provide you with all of these testing capabilities, or are you still going to have it kind of spread among multiple organizations?
Yeah, no, one university doesn't have it. In fact, we work with Rochester Institute of Technology, where I graduated from. We have a partnership with University of Dayton, Ohio, and then also Purdue University. and also Cornell University. So at this time, we are working with 5 universities
Oh
to
wow,
develop this
wow.
work.
Yeah, that's yes. So, and I'm not sure like where the all these universities are located. Are they located close enough that they're like driving distance? You can actually deliver or go to each facility, maybe two in one day, or
Yeah, so Cornell, Rochester Institute of Technology, they are all in upstate New York. Dayton is like 4 hours driving distance
okay,
from Rochester, and then Purdue University is a little bit long. It's in Indiana, so it's in the Midwest. So that's like about 12 hours. So we don't drive there, we fly there. So
okay.
yeah, but it's like the Air Force also encourages us to do cross-regional collaboration.
Say that one more time. Cross
Uh,
what?
Cross-regional collaboration.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see. So how long do you think it's going to be before these lattice structures that you're developing are actually in final applications being used?
2 to 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you think it's going to be like a little test project at 2 to 3 years, or do you think it's going to be a broad based, that we're implementing this across the board?
It will be a broad base for certain applications, and we are always looking at new customers, new applications. So the customers we are working with right now, we expect it to be in end use within 2 to 3 years, and the customers we are in the process of acquiring, we like 2 to 3 years from when we start a pilot project with them, we expect the end use application to come through.
Wow. Yeah, it's exciting stuff. I bet you didn't, 10 years ago, did you think you were going to be here today doing this?
Yeah, before I came to US, that was in 2011. I remember my parents asking me, when you go to US, what will you do after you graduate? And I had a fascination for aerospace. I said, I want to work with some company like Boeing. And
Yeah.
I realized that as I came to US, I got exposed to more entrepreneurship. Um, and I felt like I don't want to work for Boeing. I want Boeing to be my customer.
Yeah.
So that is, I didn't know that I was going to work in aerospace, but as a business owner.
Hmm.
Uh, but I always wanted to work in aerospace.
If there is one thing, if there was one thing that could cause what you're doing to not work, what would it be?
Well, 3D printing is a new technology. All the applications we are developing, um, they are like a matter of a regulation changing. Like you need a higher level of validation for the technology. So any regulations changing we are developing for certain regulations can really throw us off our track.
Right. Yeah, and I'm hearing that a lot where these innovations, and there's a lot of companies innovating out there in the 3D printing space, but you need the engineering specs and the regulations to accept this method of manufacturing in order to be able to bring it to the table. You need to have some flexibility in how you manufacture a part, whereas a lot of the specifications are very rigid.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't know how you change that. I don't know where you go to change that.
Yeah, that is where I think AI can help us build. We are actively implementing AI in process and quality control, and when we like deliver parts to our customers, we give them all that data that has been generated by the AI for part quality. So they have the data, and they have we also do some non-destructive testing like CT scanning. So the more data we can give our customers, now they have to, because it's a new technology, they also have to be a little flexible, that you cannot compare it with the traditional standards of part qualification.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we make some new standards or evolve the standards to meet this new kind of manufacturing technology?
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, I think it's pretty exciting what you're doing. And do you have any advice for? I'm really trying to encourage manufacturers to look at 3D printing as a, obviously it's been used for prototyping for a long time, but to really think outside the box with it, which is what you've done here. Um, do you have any advice to just your traditional, machine shop fabricator on why they should incorporate 3D printing and kind of how they should think about it?
So machine shops, I think there is a lot of uh, avenue for automation with 3D printing. Uh, with 3D printing, what I have seen, there's something that has come into play called hybrid manufacturing,
Mm-hmm.
where you combine traditional CNC machining with 3D printing. You 3D print a near net shape and then use CNC to give it the final shape.
Right.
So there is much less waste of material than traditional manufacturing a solid block, and you take away all that material. With 3D printing, we can only deposit material where it's needed in near net shape and machine away a very small amount. So the wastage is reduced to such an amount that can make the business more profitable. The bottom line is going to look much better if
Yeah.
manufacturers can adopt 3D printing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and actually, we were about to drop a podcast that I had with a company called Hybrid Manufacturing Technology, Jason Jones, and I think we talked about him a little bit before. But he's created these tools that you can put on a traditional CNC machine, and they allow you to 3D print and machine, and like you said, combine those processes where you're kind of building it up to almost exactly the shape that you want, and then you're just kind of using the machining as sort of that finishing application.
Yeah.
So pretty fascinating stuff. Well, I really enjoyed our talk today. Like I said, love what you're doing. I think it's what we need in U.S. manufacturing. And is there anything else that you can think of if somebody's listening in the audience? I know you mentioned you're looking for some private investment. Anything else someone in the audience might want to reach out to you for?
Yeah, I mean, there is also a lack of manufacturers, and I work with the Department of Defense, so they are actively funding a lot of startups to develop these technologies to strengthen the defense industrial base, and not just the defense base, but also they want dual use. So companies can also be profitable in the private markets. So I would ask, like all startups, my advice would be take advantage of that. It is competitive. It's not easy, but if someone has a technology that has that potential, I think that's a good way to fund that technology non-dilutively, because it's all non-dilutive capital. uh, we don't have to pay it back. Their expectation is when the company grows, the company is going to pay taxes, contribute to the national economy, and all of that.
Yep.
Uh, it's a long-term gain, but for the immediate term, we don't have to give up any equity. And for startup founders, equity is like a big deal.
I see.
Yeah.
And that's the accelerators is where you start that journey, or where do you go? As far as the U.S. government wanting to develop technologies, if you're trying to start that.
Yeah, there are multiple agencies you can go through. I would say start with the National Science Foundation and the Air
Okay.
Force
Okay.
if your technology has a defense application. So those are like two great organizations.
Okay. All right. Very helpful. Well, hey, thanks a lot for coming on today and sharing.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I hope it helps someone, all this information.